Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Punching Up with Sean Conroy. My name is Sean Conroy. I'm Punching Up. On today's episode, I talked to an old comedy friend of mine from New York City who has also transplanted to Los Angeles. She's an incredibly talented writer and performer, very funny stand up. I just saw her a few weeks ago at a show here in LA, and I was just struck by how fearless she is on stage to talk about things that maybe sometimes would make people uncomfortable. And I wanted to talk to her about that. And I wanted to talk to her about her career, what it's like to work for some of these big wigs in comedy. She's written for Conan for a long time. She's currently writing for Jimmy Kimmel. Before that, she wrote for lots of other things. She wrote for Adam Carolla. Speaking of comedy bigwigs, Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, she was a writer on, which if you've never seen that, definitely go watch some of the clips. It's a really fun show. I mean, it's no Unleashed with Byron Allen, but it was great. Anyway, here she is, Laurie Kilmartin, everybody. I saw you a few weeks ago at Peacock here in Los Angeles, and you were, as I have seen you often be, your material was very dark. It was so I'm just curious to know, well, a couple things. One thing is, what is it about that kind of stuff that really interests you, that makes you go, this is the kind of stuff I really want to talk about, you know?
Uh, I'm not really sure. I kind of and it doesn't feel dark to me. So,
Good.
but
I'm
I know it's
glad.
perceived as dark, I guess. But
Yeah.
it feels just the way I'd like to approach a topic, I guess. But I don't know why. I just kind of that's just what that's how I think with stand up. That's what would make me laugh if I was in the audience. So, you know, blame.
You're playing to yourself and hoping that other people agree.
Yes, I mean, I think so. I think always, which is perhaps explains my limited career. But maybe I
No,
should
but I guess
broaden my.
but I guess you're making a great point, which is like, why did I do it? I think it's funny. That's what I think is funny. So that's what I'm going to do on
Yeah,
stage.
yeah. I don't.
Um,
I kind of. I just want to feel like it's an angle no one has maybe come at before.
uh-huh.
Hopefully, although that's so hard to do
Right.
because there's so many funny people. But and something that I don't mind repeating over and over again for a couple years.
Yeah. For me, it's 25 years repeating.
Have you released a lot of albums?
No, no.
Okay.
I released one many years ago, and that was the only one I've done, and it was not ready for release. So it's been a long time since I've thought about that, you know.
Yes, and there's some parts like now comics are releasing stuff constantly, and
By the way,
I'm
this is an album we're recording right now.
I am actually quite grateful that certain chunks of material did not get released on
Hmm.
an album because, it just was like, oh, that's me at that time, but that's not how I would ever want anyone to remember me. And I grew out of that, and thank God, only the people that were in the theater or the comic strip saw that or something. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? So
Right.
it is weird for these younger comics to kind of be churning out these albums that maybe you grow as an artist, and not to sound pretentious or something, but it is true, you get to be a better comic and a better thinker, and it is weird to think like the first 5 years where you're maybe just acting out all your old wounds. Maybe at that point you might not want that out there. Maybe you just go, "Oh, those are my growing years." But it's a different landscape now, so obviously everyone's just trying to get some followers and all that kind of stuff so
Social
they can sell
media
tickets.
cred.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it takes 8 to 10 years to find your voice on stage is
Yeah.
a famous Bill Cosby quote. Actually, one of his famous. Another one is here. Try a sip of this.
Sure.
See,
I
I
would
can go. I
say
can go dark too, Laurie. I can
I love
go.
it. I would think it took me longer, I think,
Oh yeah.
after I got like the surface level, and then for me, like having a kid really, I guess, changed everything about me. So, and then I'm like, oh, I became much more compassionate and thoughtful, I feel like, after I had a kid.
Hmm.
And I hear that callousness in earlier material, and I'm like, ooh. So that's that.
That was unkind.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You hope that your perspective evolves over time and that you become different. And I do think, and I kind of get it. Like I had issues with that when I was starting out. When I started doing stand up, I had already been doing improv for a long time. So I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. And I definitely, not that I put out albums or anything, but I definitely sent tapes and stuff to people that I should not have and that were like, well, I'm never looking at that guy again, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is where everybody is now, where they're like, well, everybody else is putting out stuff, so I got to put out stuff too. And that's how I'm going to get 100K followers and my endorsement deals from some skincare product or whatever.
They're not wrong either to think business wise like that. It's so hard to focus on just getting better when you have to focus on all this other stuff too.
Right.
I don't envy anyone starting right now. It's so much to take on.
Well, I do still get, I mean, not still, I now get frustrated with the whole social media aspect of things because it is about self promotion and whatever. And one of the problems I've always had is my philosophy, which is absolutely 100% incorrect. Although it worked for me to a certain extent for various periods of time, it was like, well, I just have to do good work and people will recognize that and hire
Right.
me and use me for things and whatever. And it did work to a certain extent, but that's not the right attitude to have.
I think maybe there's a hybrid of that, which is how they find out you're good is they see your clips on social media.
Right.
So
Right. Where I ask somebody in the audience what they do for a living. And it turns
um
out that they're a mechanical engineer and.
My favorite crowd work is when I get interrupted. Like I hate just like talking to the audience.
Hmm.
Sometimes if it feels like they need to be warmed up a little bit or something, or they're not connecting with me, then I'll get in there and get kind of aggressive. But I'll do like a chunk of material that has a really hard, like a lot of jokes in it, and then I'll just take a break, and the audience can sort of sense that I'm, between chunks or something, and then
Uh-huh.
they start yelling at me or saying stuff to me, and then I get into it from there. It feels a little more natural to me, and maybe because I'm a woman, they love to interrupt me. I don't know what the deal is, but it does happen
Well, let me
frequently
step
enough.
in there and say this.
that 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 becomes a more organic crowd work as opposed to just go one by one going through the front row. I've done
Right.
that, but I really don't like it. And so yeah.
So you're okay with, I think it sounds like you're saying you're okay with when you're kind of like, okay, I'm done with that and I'm going to move on to something else, but then people going like, I like this daiquiri and you're that's I think what you're saying is that's an easy way to get into talking to people as opposed to it being awkwardly forced.
Yes. And sometimes people will just go woo, and you're like, well, what's that all about? And
Uh-huh.
then that, and but I do like it when they sort of make some sort of noise or interaction that initiates it. And they do. They're crowds. Like they're, you know, they like the attention too, especially when they see that you're not in the middle of it, in the middle of stuff.
Right. I
Taking a
sometimes
sip.
yeah, I sometimes will just come out and sit on stage until somebody starts talking and then I'll You're like, oh, thank you. I
Wow.
was, you know,
I don't think I have the stomach for that. Like
twice
that
I've
is,
been there for 45 minutes with nothing the entire time.
you know, those comedians that like, I mean, Andy Kaufman was great at this, and I think Zoe also did this. I heard, but like, you do the thing where you do something and it's annoying, and then you keep doing it, and it's the
Yes.
funniest thing in the world.
Right.
That
It gets funny, then it gets less funny, then it gets way more funny.
right, the unfunny parts, I don't have the nerve for that. You
Yeah,
know,
it's really hard.
I appreciate people that do, and it's fun to watch, but I couldn't do it. That I just don't have the stomach for that, you
You
know?
really have to trust that it will get funny again, and you never know that that's
I
actually going
know.
to happen.
I know. And then if it keeps not being funny, how far do you go? And will this audience ever trust you again? They won't. If you like, oh, I gotta bail on this thing. Well, you it's done. Get off
I
stage.
mean, the person who comes to mind for me with that is I've watched Eddie do that a million
Peppertone.
times.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yes, 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 100%.
And
Hmm.
always just commit to the bit,
Yeah.
and it might take 8 or 10 minutes for it to come around to funny again.
I can't imagine. I
And I am
can't
dying
imagine.
laughing while the audience is sitting there going, what is happening right now? But he always just stays so committed. And I have so much respect for that, you know?
But also now, but what you're saying is, you if there's one person laughing, even if it's a comic, that keeps you up there and keeps you into it, I think, right?
You think if he hears me, it's like he's okay with, or whoever, if there's one
Yeah,
person there, it's like, oh, it's working for that person. So
yeah, yeah.
that may be true. Yes, you might be right about that. Maybe it's all my fault this whole time.
I know. It's us back of the room comics that are making this
Yes.
continue. We need to control ourselves.
Christian Finnegan used to call me the Reaper because I would just laugh at the worst moments in the back of the room.
I love Christian.
Yeah,
I wish I saw him more, you know?
there's a
I
bunch of
see.
people like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, obviously since I'm not in New York right now or anymore, but man, I love bumping into him and
Hmm.
just coming across him online or whatever, you know, if he's posting stuff or he's often at Pete Dominick's show. So
Well,
they have really funny arguments together.
Pete, Pete has really gone in a certain direction at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's
He's a
killing it.
pundit. Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
And he does a good job and he does all that shit himself, basically, you know?
Hmm.
That is a one man crew. That is really hard to do.
Yes.
But you know, hats off.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Pete Dominick Show. Um, no, so Laurie, here's another question I have. So you enjoy this dark material, and I'm
Mhm.
not making a reference to anything on HBO. Wasn't that a show on HBO, His Dark Materials or something like that?
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
But like I was watching I think it was your most recent special, and you started with 9/11 material.
Hmm.
And I did a show a couple weeks ago. It was an improv show, and I don't remember how it came up, but there was some element of 9/11 that came up, and I get paralyzed when those things when that particular topic comes up. I can't participate.
I know you
Um,
mean. Yeah.
and so I guess my question is there anything for you where you're like, you know what? I'm not gonna touch that. That's too much for me.
Well, anything real involving my son, I wouldn't. You know,
Hmm.
the stuff I talk about is inconsequential. He doesn't care about.
Right.
So I would never go there. And it's weird because we were both in New York on 9/11, right?
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it is like when I hear my son talk about it, to him, it might as well be the Revolutionary War. Like it's just that a thing that happened a long
So
time ago.
distant. Yeah.
It's so weird to see that perspective of it equals nothing.
Right.
Um, yeah.
It's
So
like Pearl Harbor.
yes. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, how cavalier were we about Pearl Harbor? And our parents were like, well, guys,
Yeah.
that
Or the
kicked it
or
all
the
off.
or the Battle of Hastings or something like that.
So yeah, I guess it's more stuff about involving my son for sure.
So if it's
That's where I
very
wouldn't go.
personal,
Right.
you wouldn't get
Right.
that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I totally understand that. I would also point to some of the stuff you've done before as being incredibly personal, right? The stuff about your dad and the stuff about your mom, like that stuff was I my mother died a few months ago, and I definitely was.
Sorry.
Thank you, but the point I was going to make is I was definitely it was horrible, and I was very sad, but I was also taking notes at the same time, going like, "There's a lot, there's a lot of stuff here,"
Yeah.
um, and I think I don't know how you feel about this, but what I think is interesting about that stuff is like it is very personal, but it's also very universal. So that seems like that's what makes it usable ultimately.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always those are like death is always a much tougher topic to get into at a nightclub,
Yes.
and that's why, it takes some skill level to kind of seamlessly go in and out of that. That's where all your stage time comes in and stuff. And also your comfort level of speaking about it. I know like when my dad died, after my dad died, I was devastated. It's my first big death, really. And it took me a long time to be able to talk about it. Yeah, like do regular jokes. Like my goal was like, I wanted these jokes to work during a check drop, you know? And even though it's about the worst thing I've ever felt, I still want to polish them enough so they're just regular jokes in a club act, in a nightclub act. And then when my mom died, it was very different circumstances, but at least I had been to that grief place before, so that wasn't as challenging
You were like, I
to.
want these jokes to work while people are at the valet station.
That's right.
Uh, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's people who listen to this that don't know stand up particularly well. So can you just explain the check drop thing?
Oh, what frequently happens in American comedy clubs is they're all given their check for the show during the last 15 minutes of the headliner set. So you'll be chugging along, and then all of a sudden, you'll notice something's not working, and then you realize, oh, people are bent over their table, signing credit card, all that kind of stuff. It's a little less than it used to be. It used to be across the board, and because these clubs are turning over the room so quickly,
Hmm.
it's like you can't wait 20 minutes because the audience doesn't like it either. Nobody likes it.
Right.
Nobody likes to be paying for something during a show, and you don't do that with plays or anything else. It's just so dumb. Somebody started it like in the beginning of modern stand up, and then every club copies every club, so they all started doing it. It really sucks. Um,
There was a manager at Stand Up New York. I used to do Stand Up New York a lot because
I know.
Carrie was my manager
Hmm.
back before I had even less of a career. And there was a manager there who would always try to get me during the check spot to say who ordered the tax. That was like his favorite. That
How
was
many
his.
times have I heard that
I
line?
swear he must have said it to me a
I know.
hundred times. Like,
I know.
go up and say who ordered the tax when they drop
I
the
know.
checks. And that was why he was
Yeah.
the manager because he knew comedy.
Also, yeah, and there's like that's when a lot of comics start doing crowd work. If you're hosting the
Right.
show, hosting is thankless anyway, in a way, especially once you start getting the show in rotation. You're just, saying, "Let's hear it for. Are you
Hmm.
ready for your next comic?" So, they always pitch the horrible hosting job by going, "Hey, you could do like 5 minutes during the check drop." These poor comics are like, "Yeah."
Five
So
minutes during the check spot. Dream.
yes, but I guess that is a way to, just either see how good a joke is, like test it, because about half of them will be listening because only half of them are paying, right?
Right.
The
Right.
other half of the couple's listening or whatever. So,
Whenever I have a girlfriend, she pays.
well, that's because you're an artist and you want to hear the material. That's what you tell her. You're
Yeah.
like, listen, this is really important to me. If you could get this check.
um, so I want to talk a little bit about your just the incredible career you've had. You've written for, oh, sorry to keep you awake.
Sean, oh my God. Could we stop and just say, I would love to get people to stop saying, sorry, I'm keeping you awake when I yawn.
Oh, really?
like I'm bored by them. It is because I don't know I don't know my sleep. We're in the afternoon. I'm
Yeah,
just sleepy.
right.
It's not
It's nap
boredom.
time.
It is across the board. This gets said to me. I don't know how to stifle a yawn when I'm
Right.
sleepy. Right. I cover my mouth. I do my best, but I am not bored. I'm very engaged. But
Well,
also my body is sleepy.
and just to take a load off your mind, I am very aware that I am fascinating. So it never worries me that
Of course.
I'm not insecure about that. So I
Yeah.
don't, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking coffee. So, um, no, you've written for lots and lots of shows. You've obviously written for Conan for a very long time. Conan,
O'Brien.
yes, thank you. And you wrote jokes for him for a long time. Now you're over at Kimmel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and I was looking at IMDb last night and I saw a lot of names on there like Adam Carolla and Bonnie Hunt
Yes.
and Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn.
Tough crowd. My first
Um,
writing job.
what a great show and what a cool thing to have on your resume. So can you just talk, well, I guess let's start with Conan. Tell me about that. Tell me about what that was like in the writer's room every day.
Oh, well, see, I was there for 11 years for the TBS show.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, we had a room that we would have a meeting after the show aired, or taped, and we'd meet there. And on Fridays, because we weren't taking a show, we'd also meet in the big writer. The head writer had a gigantic room for Mike Sweeney at first, and then Matt O'Brien, with tons of couches. So we would all meet in there. But I was on the mono team. And so every writer had an
Monologue,
office.
mono meaning monologue.
Monologue, right.
So you were
So
writing jokes, not sketches.
correct, by myself, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like, I don't know, maybe at our height, at the biggest the staff was like 5 of us, and then it ended up getting down to 2 towards the end, toward the COVID years, right?
As TBS went down to TB and then eventually T.
T, yes. So it was a lot of, but I would meet with the mono writers, with my fellow writers, Brian Kiley, Rob Kuttner, Josh Comers, Berkeley Johnson, Leah Krinsky, Jesse, I'm blanking on his last name, but there was like we had some rotations in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And we would meet and read jokes out loud before we sent them to Conan. We frequently all, maybe like 3 out of 5 of us would write the exact same joke.
Right.
Just because you have Conan's voice in your head, and so you're all going to go to the same place. So we've just tried to get rid of those dupes and then send them to the writer's assistant, and Conan would read.
Send them as a package all together without
Mm-hmm.
like Laurie wrote this one and
Right.
and Jesse wrote this one and Josh Comers wrote nothing today.
Josh, why is Josh shaking the strays? I don't know.
I can't help it. I can't help it.
Yeah. But it's weird. Like, you can tell people have their own writing styles. You could tell people's jokes. Every once in a while I'd guess wrong or someone would guess wrong about me, but you could tell a writing style after a couple weeks. You're like, that's a Kiley classic. That's Comers. That's Kuttner.
So
Yeah.
that's actually really interesting to me because it feels like there's a couple of layers there. Because you already said when you're writing these jokes, you have Conan's voice in your head. So you're trying to fit the joke into what Conan would like. I mean, again, to go back to what we were saying before, Conan's sense of humor, what he thinks is funny, you're trying to fit it into that. But at the same time, there's your own stamp on that version of his voice.
Yeah, it goes through all of our filters. So this is what I think Conan should say, and then Kiley would take the same premise and go, "Well, this is how I think he should say it." And Kiley's was different than mine, and Kuttner's was different. So there.
And Comers was like, "I'm out on this one. I don't get it."
Comers is fighting with you apparently during this entire time.
I hope he doesn't hear this. He's going to be mad.
But yeah, so it does go through our individual filters,
And how do you do that? Like, in other words, how do you Is it just listening to Conan a million times and going, "Oh,
Mhm.
this is how he says stuff," so you just pick up his verbal patterns and stuff?
Yeah, like Conan especially was super very classic joke writer, and joke teller.
Mhm.
So it was always two sentences, the setup and the punchline. Sometimes a tag, but that often came from him in the moment. But the setup is always true, and then the punchline isn't, right? And the setups to me, that's like 80% of the joke, right? Because you're figuring out if it's a news story and maybe you kind of know where you want the joke to be, you're going to leave some stuff out. You
Mhm.
don't want to bog down the setup and have people get distracted by information that they don't need for the punchline. So to me, the editing of the setup is always you're halfway done once more than halfway done once you figure that out.
And I feel like that's a really important part of writing stand up in general. I watch people
Mhm.
do stand up and I'm like, "Oh, that person just gave, you know, 400% of the necessary information for the
I
joke that they're
drives
paying
me
off."
insane.
Yeah.
And just between you and me, these
Mhm.
millennials, they talk so much in their setup.
It's wild.
And it's not like Chris Rock very specifically repeats information
Hmm.
and that's a rhythm. They just wander all over the place and then get to their punchline, and it's like, stop. Like, to me, the audience, if you start wandering, they're like, they're not thinking, but in a way they're like, where are you going? You don't know what you're doing, right? If
Hmm.
you need to be, it needs to be purposeful, especially when you're getting into the joke. Yeah, the extra verbiage drives me insane, but it feels so generational that I don't want to say anything unless someone specifically asks me.
Well, and I would and I'll come back to this later on, but I do a lot of I teach a lot of sitcom writing and I read a lot of people's sitcom scripts, and one of
Oh,
the pieces in the process that I always try to impress on people is the actual word crafting. In other words, you write the draft of the script and you have everything essential in the dialogue. And then you go in and you go, okay, I said this in 10 words. Could I say it in 6 words?
right.
And just getting it further and further and further down without losing the essential elements of the character's voice or of Conan's voice or whatever. But you don't need to, and what you're saying is something that I notice all the time in people's writing as well as in stand up, is people just way over explaining stuff.
Oh, meandering,
Yeah.
meandering, like going to another mountain range. Like, hey, we're right here in this meadow. What are you doing up there? Um, yeah. The other thing that I found very interesting, especially early on, because I'd never worked with other people on jokes. Like, we'd all meet in the monologue room and then start the jokes would be on cards, and then we'd start going like this, and going, do we need this? Do we need this? Also slowing down a joke a little bit, right? Like maybe the joke has a lot of visual elements. You just need people, give them an extra second to take
To
it all in.
absorb it. Yeah.
Yeah, so just some sort of phrasing, by the way, or you know what I mean, like a little bit to pause it a little bit before you get to the punchline. But it was really very precision sort of surgery,
Uh-huh.
right before a monologue. And that was always really fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Now, so you go, and I'm assuming you come in early in the day to write these jokes so that you can all sit together and read through them and then send them to Conan and you're ready to go
Hmm.
by the afternoon. How many jokes on a typical day would you say you have to write? Like I can write like one a week basically.
I think I would say between 25 to 40,
A
depending on the
piece.
yes, depending on the
Holy
premises.
shit.
Some stories have so much going on in them, you know, you can't stop writing jokes. And other stories are just like depressing, or it's all repetitive, or
Nine
it's
11.
people it's people you don't want to joke about again. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Those are really hard days. So yeah, it would depend on the premises for sure.
And is that something that you guys discuss before you start writing? Like, in other words, does somebody come in and go, here's the 10 topics we need jokes on today? Or is it just like, here's a print copy of the New York Times. Get to work.
What? No. Um, no, it's interesting. Like at Kimmel, we are given stories, like suggested, like, hey, let's, there's an interest in these stories, so
Right.
let's load up jokes. But you can also put in other stuff. There's so much in the news that nobody can catch every story, and maybe you notice something that wasn't caught in the early documents and stuff. And
Who
then
put this thing in about the reflecting pool?
Conan, though, we picked the topics. Like we would go in, all of us writers, we ended up doing something where we would all submit like, 10 or 15 premises to a master document off the stories of the day. And so I was at there are some news sites that are really great at, like, Page Six is, the New York Post is great at summarizing a story. Drudge is really great at it. There was this one for a while called News, KNEWZ. It was like Fox News based, but they everything kind of popped. So you could kind of decide quickly if you wanted something. And then, it takes a lot of time to read a New York Times piece and then decide, maybe there's only one joke in this. So
Right.
that was more us. We'd hunt and peck and grab the stories. And we mostly were looking at this, same news sources or similar. So we kind of all gravitated toward the same stuff. And we kind of know what Conan, would not want to talk about. He's, war or whatever, like that. There was this came from another writer who wasn't on Conan, but we ended up, when you're desperate for news stories, and it's like, this is the last batch of the day and we have nothing, Google the word penis studies. There's always a study on penises, always. It's always fresh. It's always a brand new study. So that's not a lie in the setup. And it's something about penises, and you got a closer.
Right. People are fascinated by penises.
They really are.
Scientists are,
Yeah.
It's just good science. That was how Fauci got started.
But that was also like, it was pretty obvious. Like we've just run out of everything. Here's a story we found about penis length coming out of Denmark. So that's what we got for you, sir. Sorry about that. Please don't fire me.
Well, so here, that leads into my next question, which is like, you're writing 25 to 40 jokes a day based on stuff you're taking out of the news. You're reading this New York Times article for 15 minutes, and at the end of it, you're going, God, there was nothing in there that's interesting. It feels like there could be a situation in this job where you would feel under a tremendous amount of pressure. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, you would find something in a New York Times article, so it wouldn't be a total waste. But
you don't have to defend the New York Times to me. I'm not attacking you.
You're always with you in the New York Times, Sean. I thought we talked about this earlier, that you leave them alone for 1 hour of
now,
your
Josh
life.
Comer's, on the other hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, obviously on Kimmel, we talk a lot about the news. We talk a lot about, we're very up to date. We'll be writing new jokes at 3:00 if a story breaks, especially because we're the only show on the West Coast. So we might be the only ones that had access to that story by the time the show tapes.
Everybody else is already done by then.
Yes, right. So
Fallon's hard-hitting news jokes are done by then.
Sean, everyone has their own specialty, and I don't criticize what people like to talk about. That's
I love Flip Cup.
You know what? Sounds like the audience does too, and we're here to serve the audience, Sean.
Great. I'm with you 100%. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I don't even know where I was going with it, but I lost my train of thought as well.
Should we look up a penis study real quick to get back on track?
Please, out of Scandinavia. Those are the best ones.
No, I was asking about pressure, whether you're ever like, oh, fuck, am I going to be able to do this today or whatever?
Yes. I mean, I wake up, and I look at the news stories and I'm like, God dang, this is grim and it's a lot. But then you go, okay, that panic part of my head, no time for you. And you just start, reading, skimming, trying to find the interesting part of a story that would make it into a monologue.
Hmm.
Some of these stories are so dense, with the Trump and the corruption and, um, you know, uh, it's a lot. That's
The
why
what
he
now? The what? The what?
Kimmel, there's at least, I think, 15 or 16 writers. So everyone's going to kind of come at things at their own way. So he gets a huge selection of jokes on a certain topic, which is
So
cool.
let me follow up on that. You're
Hmm.
saying when you were at Conan, there was five, then it was like it
Yeah.
shrank down. Is everybody at Kimmel writing monologue jokes? Is everybody?
Yeah. I mean, it's staggered a little bit. Like some do morning and some do afternoon. So
Mhm.
it's not like otherwise he'd be looking at like 300 pages of material. I just realized. But yeah, so you are getting more, everyone's sort of writing for everything. Yeah.
Right.
So you are getting more points of view on it on the same topic, which is, kind of gives him a really well-rounded kind of mono, when he's talking about a certain topic. It's not just like two jokes on it.
Right. And is there ever a time where you write like I don't know. I feel like to do this stuff, there's a part of you that has to be a little bit ego driven. And is there, not you, but anybody who does this,
Right.
is there ever a part of you that's like, that's a fucking great joke? How could you turn that down? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, every writer thinks that they have gold that was overlooked
Right.
unfairly, of course. But I mean, also, it's there's you have to do this every single day. There's no time to even dwell on it. You just keep going. And here's the thing: I always think of it as like as a stand-up. You do a set, and then somebody comes up and it has a tag for you, and you're like, "What? Why on earth do you think I would say that?" And I think for anyone, if someone's writing for you, sometimes it just doesn't click with
Right.
and so I always think, well, it just didn't click, and it has to. And I know that feeling of going, yeah, that's a good joke. I don't think so. But
Right.
that's not for me.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and there's also, I mean, I don't know if this is true, but for me, when I started writing on shows, which was a little different because it was, narrative stuff, not monologue stuff, but it was still jokes, and I would
Hmm.
come back with a script, and people, you give the script to the room, and the room gets to rewrite everything. And so this stuff that you thought was great just vanishes and never to be seen again.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to take. But then I was also like, well, it's not my fault. It's the job. And it's because everybody else wants their own stuff in. So it's gonna, they're gonna take stuff apart and substitute stuff in.
That's exactly true. And for whatever various reasons, things get rewritten or something. But that's why I always never stop doing stand up
Hmm.
because it's a direct line from my brain to the audience, and the only thing that makes me drop it is if it doesn't get a laugh. So to me, stand up is a great way to offset any frustration if you feel like there are days, when you're writing for a show and you just like, am I not funny? Did I lose it? Like it's a thing and I lost it. It's gone. And
Yeah.
then you go up on stage at night and you do well. You're like, okay, I still got it. I just sucked today.
Right.
And to me, stand up really helps me keep some perspective on that. And if with late night, you're writing so much. It's so much that some days you're gonna have great days and some days you're gonna be off. It's just gonna happen.
Right. And it's consistency over time, just like with anything
Hmm.
else.
Hmm.
But what you're saying actually brings up something I wanted to talk about, which is actually two moments that I remember. And I don't know if you remember either of these, but once was we ran into each other at the Improv once, and we were sitting in a booth in the back. Both of us had sets late in the show,
Hmm.
like post 11 p.m., which Doesn't seem that late, but it's pretty fucking late.
In
And
LA, yeah,
yeah.
especially.
And right before we were both going to go on, somebody dropped in to do an unannounced set and was going to do like an hour.
Oh,
And
who was it?
I feel like it was maybe, I don't know, it was maybe one of the Wayans brothers or one of the Baldwin
Oh,
brothers or
no, I think it was the Wayans. I think you're right.
one of the
Yeah,
Howard brothers. It could have been Clint Howard, I don't remember, but
you're right.
so we were in the booth in the back just like, "Oh my God, we have to sit here for another hour when we were already going so late." And I remember you literally were like, because you had to go to work the next day. I don't think I
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
but you had to get up and go to work. And so you like stretched out in the booth and laid down and closed your eyes
Oh
while
no.
whoever it was on stage. And I was like, that's awesome. And then, well, and then I think it was just a couple weeks later, I could be wrong, but I ran into you on a plane. We were both flying either to or from New York on the same
Okay.
flight.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know, like, how do you maintain the energy to go to a club and stay that late when you have to get up in the morning and go to work? And what you said is very much like what you're saying now, which is like, and it really struck me because I was having tremendous difficulty at that time working a job and doing stand up. And I really kind of lost my way with stand up for a long time because of that. But it was like, that is the place where I get to feel in control is on stage. I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. Whatever jokes I want to do, I can do. I don't have to worry about anything. Whereas in the job, I have to do what they want me to do. And I really found that helpful, actually.
Oh, cool. Well, I am also yawning all day long. That's my other secret is I'm constantly sleepy.
Right.
Um, yeah. And also I just love doing stand up. So
Hmm.
I can't imagine not doing it. And uh, plus writing jobs, they don't last forever.
No, they
Between
don't.
Conan and Kimmel, I had like 3 years of unemployment, 3 years of not enjoying it, 3 years of trying to get another job, and three
Hmm.
years of panicking. So when I get really tired even now. I was exhausted during Conan too because my son was much younger too. Um, but I'm like I would rather have this than that 3 years where I was just like at a coffee house working on a spec, just trying. I hated it. I fucking hated it. I'd rather my brain be exhausted at the end of the day, and it often is, than
Hmm.
it
And
not.
then get up on stage.
Yeah. Well, I include the end of the day being on stage. Like,
Oh, I
uh,
see. Okay.
yeah. At the end of the day, it got stretched out with the late night, and then it got stretched out a different way, like silly putty, right? It's just boing and then boing, and then you just collapse at night.
And you
Yeah.
got to watch Marlon Wayans for an hour, so
That's right. From a horizontal position. I mean,
the old
yes.
comedy team, Marlon Wayans and Clint Howard. Yeah, yeah, I get that, and I'm sort of in the coffee shop phase right now, and I do love working on stuff, but at the same time, I'd rather be working on stuff,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it does get a little bit you get a little bit out there. Um, so I guess my next question, and it feels like there's probably a couple different versions of this answer, but one of the things I always like to ask people about is what their writing routine is like. Like, do you have a specific thing you do when you sit down to write stand up, or does it all happen at this, like, are you sitting there writing jokes for Kimmel and then going, oh, but here's a thing for myself at the same time, or so how does that all work?
Yeah, no, Kimmel is dedicated Google Doc. Open it
Hmm.
up, it's blank. I paste in the stories, start writing jokes underneath the stories.
Hmm.
Um, and that's kind of how I do that. And then,
So you just
the,
are focused on that the whole
yes,
time.
yeah, yeah. Um, and you can do that because they give you the stories. So they've given you basically the setup. With stand up, you're like talking about your life. You have to come up with everything, right? You have to come up with a thing you think is interesting and how
Is
you're
there
going to talk about it.
anything else about 9/11?
So, yeah, when they do half the work for you, which is, hey, we want jokes on this story, it's a lot easier to
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, I would not be able to sit down and write 30 jokes for my own act every morning
Right.
at all, ever. But I can do that for Kimmel
Right.
every morning.
Well, because it's Kimmel. I mean, I feel like this is the advantage those shows have is that it's all current events stuff. So it's about
Yeah,
stuff that's going on right now as opposed to like your entire life. So it's
right.
almost too many things at once.
Yeah. So that those parts of my brain do not acknowledge each other when they're working.
Hmm.
So how I write stand up, a lot of it is like when I'm swimming, I'll think of stuff. A lot when I'm out, when I'm not writing, I think of it. And then I have a porch. I have a little journal that I write in, and when I should be writing in my journal, which is like I think of it as meditation, that's when I come up with stand-up ideas because I
Hmm.
would do anything to avoid uh, self-reflection. So I'll have like a journal and I'll start writing and I'll hit something really true about myself. And then part of me is like, wait, I thought of a tag. And then then I just write that down in the notebook. So it seems like all my stand up writing gets written while I'm avoiding other things, you know, cleaning and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Now, first of all, if you want to avoid self-reflection, it's a very safe time to go to Washington, D.C. That's my current events joke of the day.
Love it.
But so when you like, let's just take as an example, you are, I think you said starting to meditate and you come up with some stand up or whatever. I guess that's easier, but
No, just writing, not meditating.
oh,
I look at journal writing as a form of meditation.
oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, let's say you're doing something else, you're swimming and you come up with stand up ideas.
Yeah.
Do you have a system for, yes, by the way, congratulations, happy birthday. Yeah, I
Is
don't
that
know.
your birthday?
I
All
don't
of a
know how
sudden
to,
balloons arrived on the screen.
yeah,
Interesting.
I don't know how to stop that.
Okay.
But do you have a system for noting that down? Like I find sometimes I'll think of something and if I don't write it down right away, it's just gone. And
That
is there,
happens. I don't have a system.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to break up a swim by writing something like I don't it's almost like because I'm in the water, the ideas feel like they're floating a little bit.
Mhm.
And if I were to write them down, they would start to sink. So I keep them in my head. I know I've lost ideas, but they also come back to me at the next swim. It's almost like they're at the pool.
Yeah.
And I usually remember one or two, and then I'll remember the next ones at the next swim, but they're definitely in the pool, and I have to go there to get them.
So you don't have a scribe sitting by the side of the pool so you can just call things out as your head turns for air?
No, and I tried to get something where like a waterproof writing thing, but then what I love about swimming is you're just completely away from technology, and having anything that would be remotely technical would ruin it,
Right.
and part of the reason I'm dis the disconnection allows me to write in my head.
Right.
And if I was, hovering or putting, listening to music, I don't do that. Um, then that would dissipate all that. It is like a little special like haven for my brain to be completely disconnected from everything except the water.
So you got rid of your waterproof AirPods and your Apple
Oh, I never
Watch and
had
all
those.
those
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so you're depending a little bit on, in a good way, on just inspiration, which I think
Hmm.
is
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah.
Um, Now here is one of the reasons I started doing this was because I wanted to talk about and it's not this anymore, but I wanted to talk a lot about sitcom pilots, and I still do enjoy that kind of stuff. You've done a lot of writing, which is joke writing, monologue writing. Have you done or thought about narrative writing as well in terms of screenplays, sitcoms, that kind of stuff? And if
Mhm.
so, what? And if not, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote a spec and a while ago, and then I was working on another one, and it got out of control, and then I got then I got a job. So then I was like, good, I don't have to rein this thing in.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I mean, you know, for a long time, every comedy writer had to have a packet for late night and a spec and all that kind of stuff. And you just, whatever a job takes me, that's the career I'll have. Right now, I don't even know what it's because of the industry is so weird. I have no idea if a spec is
Every
worth the
comedy
effort.
writer has to have an uncle, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to go about that now. It
Mhm.
just seems it's so crazy how dead it is.
Yeah.
So
So good luck, everybody. Good luck. Uh, so, I mean, we already talked about this a little bit, but one of the things I always like to ask people about, just because I have started to go through a bit of I'm sorry I'm keeping you awake, Laurie.
Oh my God.
Uh, I have gone through a little bit of like a physical awakening of like, I need to take better care of myself and be conscious of that. So, and I've really started doing that, and that's been great. So can you talk a little bit more about your swim practice and how that works, how it came about, how it functions for
Oh,
you?
you know, I try to swim maybe 4 times a week and then or five, and then supplement. I want to compete again at some point, but not right now. I don't have time. But maybe like in 5 or 6 years, I'd like to compete with masters. I was a competitive swimmer, and so it's like the only sport I can do. Everything else I'm pretty clunky at, and so I mean, I just love it. So and I've noticed how much it really helps me like reset my brain, and how much I leave in the pool after a swim, all the things I'm worried about and freaked out about, how much they kind of are washed out of me, metaphorically. And so, I kind of try to do that consistently. And also, just like stand up, I work so hard to get good at it. I don't want to lose it,
Hmm.
and I don't want to, I don't want to not know how to do butterfly or so
Is that your event, Butterfly, or is there
uh, breaststroke more, but anything's fine with me. I like all four strokes. I do all four of them in a workout. I try to do
right?
drills and all that kind of stuff.
So when you compete, you're going to be doing everything, a little bit of
I
everything.
don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, I've been trying to do some sprints. I really have lost my sprint gene. Um, And I mean, I don't know if you can get it back when you're older. I'm not really sure.
Hmm.
But because I mostly do stroke drills, just to make, if your stroke is off, then the whole thing's a mess. So that's the basics. And I had some shoulder pain and some knee pain, so I wasn't trying to stress myself out too much about yardage for a while. But they feel better now, so I've been increasing my yardage a little bit. But I definitely, um, now I need to work on sprints, because right now it's like I think I did some sprints yesterday, and I was like, this I should not be this tired after this. It's a 25, like crazy. So
Yeah, but
there's always something new to work on in swimming. And same with stand
25
up.
yards swimming is a
It's
lot.
a it, it's the
Sprinting.
smallest. It's the smallest amount, but yeah,
It's like 5 times the size of my bathtub. Um,
that's how they describe it in the Olympics. The 50-meter pool is
Stop
25
using my
times.
name in the Olympics, announcers. Um, so let me ask you about this, and we can get out of here soon. But you're going to London
Hmm.
to do the Soho Theater. Tell me about that.
Well, I have 2 weeks off. We've got some hiatus, and everyone's going to London to do stand up, and I get jealous, and so I thought, let me see if I can do that. And then my manager hooked me up with the Monday and Tuesday It's like their weekend, Sean. That's what I'm told.
Right,
And
right.
but that's cool. And so it's the 27th and 28th of July, and I'm doing an hour, and it's a theater, so I'm trying to fill it. So as we were talking about earlier, social media, I hired somebody at great expense to uh, pummel the UK, the United Kingdom, all of it, Wales and Scotland as well, Northern Ireland, with promo for my show. So hopefully, it's only 2 nights. It's not like Edinburgh where it's all month. It's just 2 nights, and hopefully I can fill that room and partially offset the expense. I was telling some of this. It's just like an expensive vacation with stage time,
Hmm.
because I'm putting myself up, flying myself out there, and paying for this social media stuff. And
And hoping to
so
recoup on the ticket sales.
if I could recoup half of my cost, that would be incredible.
Uh-huh.
And we'll see.
And are they promoting in the Falkland Islands? Is that still part of the UK, or is
I
that
believe it is.
yeah?
I don't know that that went back to Argentina. And
It
you
was
know what?
one or the
Normally I
other.
think it should, but uh, you know what? Fuck Argentina as well. So
Nobody's
they
crying
suck.
for you, Argentina.
Nobody.
Um, although I think I was just watching them in the World Cup, so that was exciting.
Well, Peter Thiel, and their president's like insane, and he's a Trump-esque, and so fuck them. But yeah, so I have no allegiance to who owns the Falkland Islands.
Do you wonder if people like you're saying he's Trump-esque, and I'm not familiar, but I wonder if people who are described as that, don't you think you would be like, fuck that, I am not Trump-esque, like fuck that guy. I wouldn't want to
No,
be
they
like
seem
that
to
guy.
love him.
Hmm.
They no, the people that like him love him, and they want to be compared to him. Yeah,
What a dark time. People should do more dark comedy because we live in such a dark time.
exactly.
Um, Laurie, obviously you're on social media. You're one of my favorite Twitter artists. Probably my favorite, I would say. I think I can say that unequivocally.
Thank you.
I enjoy your Twitter feed more than anybody else's I ever see. Or not Twitter. You're
Threads.
not on
I'm
Twitter
more on Threads
anymore.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Twitter's like I still go on there every once in a while because I have a bunch of news sources saved that I liked that
Hmm.
reporters and stuff, but it's not fun anymore. Threads
Twitter,
is
oh
more
my God, it's a nightmare. Twitter
yeah,
is horrible.
yeah.
Um,
Like the replies are all bot or bot-esque, and it's just I don't know who gets any value out of it. Because I have so many followers, I'll post if I have shows and stuff in the
mhm.
hopes that some of them will
Right, right.
show up, but that's about it. I get no joy from it. I get more joy from Threads. It's fun.
So what is your threads thread, or I don't know what you call it on threads?
Handle. It's Annie Laurie 16, ANYLAURIE 16. That's off an very old AOL account that I used to have. Um, and I didn't realize how important social media was, or I would have claimed my name, but I
Hmm.
just went with this, and now I'm like kind of stuck with it. So that's okay. I'll be dead soon, and none of it will matter.
Little did we know what having your own name on those social media things was going to do for
I
us
know.
later on.
I
Like,
know.
I think back to some of the emails I had back in the day, and I'm like, what was I
Big balls
thinking?
Conroy at CompuServe.
No,
That was
I was on the road once with Eddie, and we came up with a character I was playing because I was hungover and lying on a bed and just making fun of everything on television. And we made a television review show called The Prone Cynic, like just a cynic who was lying down, and that became my email. So my email was prone cynic at whatever. And like, think about somebody reading that. They were like, "Is this what does this say? Prenekanak? What's the?"
I know.
It was just so stupid.
Yeah.
But so follow Lori at any Lori 16 on Threads. Are you on Instagram as well?
Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook,
Email
TikTok.
her at AOL.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I'm
Blue
on all that
Sky.
stuff. I haven't logged onto Blue Sky in a while.
Hmm.
So earnest. I
Yeah.
just can't take it. But yeah.
Um, Anything else you want people to know? Any promotion you'd like to do?
I
Any?
mean, I tour a lot, so if you want to see me live, you can. My website is kilmartin.com, and I post dates. I'll be in Sunnyvale, June 26th through 28th, California, at Rooster Teeth Feathers. I'll be at in Austin at Cap City, July 24th and 25th, right before I go to Texas. I mean, go to London.
A Freudian slip there. You think of London as Texas.
I hope this doesn't air outside of our country.
Yeah, so go to kilmartin.com, sign up for Laurie's dates, and yeah, I always enjoy watching you perform. It's really, I love it.
Thank you, Sean. I'm a big fan of you as well. And
Wow.
it was great to run into you and connect with you again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So there she is, Laurie Kilmartin, everybody. And you can, apparently, if you have ChatGPT, you can get discount plane tickets. So you could
What?
potentially set that up and try to go see her at the Soho Theater in
You
London.
know
I'm
what?
just saying.
It's not worth it. I've never used ChatGPT and I won't. And please don't pay full price.
All right. Thanks, everybody. This has been Punching Up. We'll see you next time on Punching Up. Bye. Unfortunately for Laurie, podcasts are available all over the world. And I recently saw that we have 2 listeners in Canada. So that could be a problem. Anyway, now you know where to find all Laurie's stuff, where to find her. Please go do that. I hope there was some useful information on this episode. I would love it, for my sake, if you would rate and review this podcast on the Apple Podcasts app. Is it application? Is that what app is short for? Or appetizer? Please rate and review this podcast on the Apple Podcasts appetizer, and I would greatly appreciate that. And this has been another episode of Punching Up. We will see you next time when we will also be punching up with me. My name is Sean Conroy. See you guys.